Hello and welcome to the episode 8 recap, or the finale of Under the Bridge. This episode focuses on the testimony of the rest of the Shoreline Six against Kelly and Kelly's eventual testimony. In between these courtroom scenes, we see some flashbacks to the night of Reena's murder. We go back to the day that the Seven Oaks girls were dancing around to Reena's new Biggie CD, and when Reena jumps on Joe's bed, she gets mad and decides to leave Reena out when they go out on one of their missions. This isn't the first time that Joe has iced her out, and Reena's growing sick of it, so she starts calling around, spreading rumors about Joe, and when Joe finds out, she and Kelly talk on the phone afterwards and brainstorm what to do about it. Kelly says that they should dig a hole in the forest and bury Reena in it. She also mentions something really violent involving a baseball bat, and Joe says, yeah, we should kill her. Only it seems like Joe is just talking a big game and she isn't serious. Kind of like when they made Dusty stand on the train tracks. It's a bluff, but still it's pretty concerning. Kelly is serious though. Kelly's mother is also within earshot of this phone call, and she says nothing about her daughter talking like a psycho, so yeah. Joe later seems to feel a little bit bad for Reena, and she tells Dusty that maybe they should make Reena a part of their CMC because she's impressed that Reena could even withstand the teasing. Dusty's like, well, why are you asking me? I'm not even in the gang. And Joe quickly says, well, yes, you are. And they do the blood oath. Joe says that they're family, they look out for each other. So Dusty's part of the gang. It's interesting that Joe never initiated Dusty into the gang already, but we already found out what Joe and Kelly really thought about Dusty when they made her the bouncer of the party that they went to, and Dusty had to stand at the door the whole time while they got to party all night. I mean, I'm sure Joe does see her as a kind of friend, but Dusty's certainly not equal to Kelly or even to Joe. Rebecca thinks back on the aftermath of Gabe's death and how every child was warned to stay away from the bridge, even before his accident. Afterwards, all parents didn't want to let their kids out of their sight. Warren calls Rebecca and tells her that it's been a long time since she's visited and he's having trouble sleeping. He started therapy, and while it helps some, he doesn't know if he can live with what he did because he hasn't been completely honest. He asks her to be there for him as some kind of family when he talks about what he's done, and at first I thought that Rebecca was grinning because she got a big scoop, but she appears to be crying. She says that she can't because she has to go back to New York. Seven Oaks is shutting down, and Cam makes it clear that they're not responsible for Reena's death, but all of the negative publicity was too much. Cam also gets a hold of her own adoption folder from the time that she lived at Seven Oaks. She lived there for a short while before getting adopted. She goes to talk to Joe then and gives her a box of her things. She also lets Joe listen to a tape where Kelly tries to pin it on Joe, saying that Joe said to kill Reena. Joe doesn't want to believe it, even though she looks a little rattled. She thinks that Kelly was just scared. She still refuses to testify against Kelly because she says she's not a rat. That means she'll have to stay in juvie for another 90 days, but Joe has nowhere to go anyway. Warren is missing. Well, it just seems as though he's not coming forward to testify against Kelly. Cam's dad goes to Rebecca to ask for her help because she's the only one that Warren will listen to, but she says that she's just there to observe. She doesn't want to get involved. You are already involved, Rebecca, Cam's dad tells her. We see the night of Reena's death that at first she tried to stand up to Joe, saying that they're tired of her always wanting and having things her way. Reena looks over at Dusty then for support, and when Joe asks Dusty if she has a problem, Dusty backs down and she says no. Reena realizes that she's on her own and she apologizes, but it's too late. The group, including Dusty, start beating her up. It was very disappointing to see that Dusty was also literally throwing punches at her so-called friend. She didn't just stand by. She says in her testimony that she joined in and didn't stand up for Reena because she thought that she would be hurt as well. She testifies that Kelly told her that she killed Reena when they found Reena's boots in her closet. Kelly's lawyer is really good, and he tries to pin this on Dusty. He brings up the knife incident that she had with her sister's kid and brings up her anger issues. Dusty says that they're all responsible for what happened to Reena. Cam shows the paper clipping from her adoption file to her father, and it's a huge revelation for her that she was part of a program that takes Native children from their families. She wasn't abused as a child, as she was told, and she was wanted. Her father tells her that he had no idea. He was told that she needed a home, so they took her in. Rebecca gives the chapters that she's written about Reena to Reena's mom, and she leaves them on the front door, but Suman catches her just before she walks away. Rebecca tells her that she knows that she could have done more, and she'll encourage Warren to testify. She ends up going to see Warren, and she brings Reena's mom with her and tells Warren that it's up to him if he wants to talk to her. I won't give him any credit, but he does talk to her and he seems sincere. Suman tells him that he took away her chance to fix things with Reena. He poisoned their lives, and she lives in fear of losing her children. She forgives him though, because that is her faith and it's the only way out of this. Warren says that he doesn't know why he did it, and he does seem deeply moved by this meeting with Suman. Warren finally testifies, and he says that at first when Kelly told Reena to take off her shoes, he thought that Kelly was robbing Reena, but then she started hitting her. Warren jumped in on the hitting until Reena was on the ground. They were kicking her, jumping on her, jumping in the air with 2 feet, he says. He felt a rush, and it felt good to release the anger which he had a lot of at the time. Then they dragged her to the water, and at this point, Reena was puking blood. When Kelly started to drown Reena, he did not tell her to stop. He knew that they were killing her, and they did not show her any mercy. He says that he's sorry for what he did, and he'll be sorry for the rest of his life. Upon hearing this, Rebecca leaves the courtroom crying. Kelly takes the stand then, and for a minute it looks like it might go okay, as she's trained by her lawyer, but also not, because she needs direction from him to answer the question, are you a sensitive person? She nods quite unconvincingly. Her testimony goes off the rails then when she eventually has a violent outburst on the stand, screaming that she did not kill Reena. But it's pretty disturbing to watch. This is not an outburst of an innocent person frustrated by being framed. She looks guilty, violent, and impulsive. She absolutely fits the description of somebody who would beat up and murder a girl in a rage. Kelly ends up being charged guilty of second-degree murder, and she gets 5 years in prison. 5 years. Stick around though, because that's not really the end of it. The judge says that because she got good marks in school and she has a good network of people around her, she can make something of her life. Some justice this is. Anyway, Kelly ends up having to go back to the same juvie with the others. Rebecca tells Cam that the reason she got close to Warren was that he reminded her of herself. They're both the reason somebody died. Cam tells her that what happened with Gabe wasn't her fault. Cam decides to resign from her job as a policewoman, and she says she's tired of people being scared when she walks into a room. She wants to go and meet with her birth family as well. As Reena's parents are cleaning out her room, they listen to a bit of her old Biggie CD that she loved so much. In the end, we get some information on what came of the real-life people in the case. Joe went on to work as an exotic dancer in biker bars once her sentence was over. Dusty told the press that they should have gotten more time for what they did, and she was the only one who was openly regretful. Warren became some kind of activist for restorative justice within his native community, and he was eventually granted parole. Reena's dad advocated for him, so yeah, Dusty wasn't the only one. Kelly appealed and got 2 more trials and was sentenced to life in prison. After years of denying the murder, she would eventually take responsibility for it in 2016. She has 2 children, which is terrifying. Rebecca passed away in 2022, just before the show began filming, and she and Warren kept in touch throughout the years. Reena's parents became anti-bullying activists in Canada, and Manjeet wrote a book about Reena. Reena's mom, Suman, passed away in 2018. And yeah, that was season 1 of Under the Bridge. I might still do a follow-up video on the true story if I find the time this summer. But yeah, if you have seen it, feel free to share your thoughts, and thank you for watching.